My entire family demanded I terminate my pregnancy to save my cousin's bone marrow until my mother-in-law stormed in and said, "Touch her and see what happens." When I found out I was pregnant with twins, my mother-in-law, Margaret Carter, was overjoyed, and my husband, James Carter, treated me like a treasure. When the fetuses were 4 months old, my younger cousin Michael Lee was diagnosed with leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant. Fortunately, my stored bone marrow sample was a perfect match. My father, Richard Lee, is obsessed with his younger brother, Harold Lee. He pressured me to abort the babies to donate bone marrow. After the donation, James divorced me. My birth family treated me like a burden and kicked me out. I wandered the streets with my sick body and eventually died on New Year's Eve. In this life, even with a big belly, I will tear these blood-sucking vampires apart in my birth family. Bella, Michael is the only male heir to our family. You must save him, Richard said. I looked at him in confusion, unable to suppress my inner joy. Was I reborn into the trap set by my parents? I glanced around and saw my grandfather George Lee, my parents, my Aunt Deborah, and my sister Sarah Lee at the table. Unable to resist their moral coercion in my past life, I had to agree to abort my 2 lovely babies for bone marrow donation. I paid a painful price for that decision. I must not be that foolish in this life. I also want to save Michael, but it's inconvenient for me since I am pregnant. I said. Richard said. Michael's situation is critical. We've consulted the doctor, and once the child is aborted, we can proceed with the bone marrow extraction. You are young and can conceive again soon. You expect me to believe that? Not a chance. And suddenly, Aunt Deborah came over, took my hand, and knelt before me. Bella, have some compassion. I'll do anything for you for the rest of my life. Do anything for me? Ha, in my past life. After saving Michael at all costs, she immediately turned against me when we were both in the hospital. She only brought food for Michael, claiming takeout was unhealthy. After I had the abortion, my in-laws didn't even bother to come and take care of me. I pushed her away. There are people who have twins at 60. Maybe you should go back and try it with your husband. See if you'll have 2 healthy boys. Richard slammed the table, scolding me again. He couldn't have a son himself and always treated Michael as his own. He's counting on Michael to perform the final rites when he dies. He wasn't just obsessed with his younger brother, but also with his nephew. Sarah chimed in, smiling thinly. Bella, Michael is the last hope for continuing our family line. If anything happens to him, it'll all be on you. On me. What a joke. Merk's accent. I gave her a cold look. She had always envied my good marriage. Now she was trying to morally coerce me in my past life. Lying on a cold hospital bed, she sarcastically mocked my marriage, which ended in divorce. Is that so? I sneered, grabbed a bottle and smashed it against her head. The bright red blood flowed down her deliberately made-up face. It was terrifying. My mom, Marlene Riera, screamed and rushed to help Sarah, while George stood up trembling, pointing at me. Today, whether you agree or not, you must save my precious grandson. I swear I'll fight you to the death. Pipe me, give me a break. Seconding this old man was the worst, always instigating my parents against me. I flipped the table. Dinner. Hey, go eat. Shamrast erupted. Richard grabbed my hair. Take her to the hospital for an abortion and bone marrow extraction. Marlene let go of Sarah to help, and Aunt Deborah tried to lift me by my feet. As a pregnant woman, I was no match for them. I was about to be carried out the door. At that moment, a group of people rushed in from outside. It was my in-laws. The in-laws came in with James and younger sister-in-law, Emily Carter, looking very aggressive. Right after I was reborn, I sent a text message to James Inter. I told him that my family was pressuring me to have an abortion that set off a chain reaction. Before Margaret even entered, she started shouting, "Anyone who dares touch my grandchild is asking for death." In my past life, I was abandoned by my in-laws. In truth, I deserved it. I couldn't understand it at first. Not until I died on the street and finally came to my senses. James and Margaret both treated me well. Even Emily respected me too. It was my own lack of appreciation that let them down.